Well, good morning, everybody, and welcome to the Southwest Indian Agricultural Business Promotion and Assistance Program webinar. This is a joint presentation webinar from the Southwest Indian Ag Association, or SWIAA, Rural Business Development Grant funding this, and that's in conjunction with Apex Applied Technology with Jean Liu, and with Dr. Mark Sorensen at the Star School as the CEO of Star School. Ms. Bailey Bates is our program development at Gila River Indian Irrigation and Drainage District. And then we have also Bryce Barnes is at the NDC on Apache, San Carlos Apache Nation, is a nonprofit organization that he runs. He's head of that. These will be our presenters today. We'll be going over getting started really quick, and then there'll be time for questions after each of the presentations. And today we're going to start off with Bryce, and he's going to talk about his program out on the NDC and San Carlos.
Good morning, everybody. It's great to be here. I'm excited about this and honored and humbled to be asked to share a little bit about our organization, NDC. Again, my name is Bryce Barnes, and we formed the NDC, which is the Nalwoodi Denzhone community. Forgive my Apache language. The N and the D stand for strength and beauty. And so we're trying to creatively build collaborations to serve the San Carlos Apache people. Go ahead. I have a short video clip of our Vice President, Carrie Curley, talking about our community garden to start with here. So go ahead and play that.
My name is Carrie Curley. I'll introduce myself in Apache. Dagode, she carries a curly gonze, she kites it, and she wants in the curly gonze. Peridot Yugonshi. The vision of the garden, it definitely has extended over the last, I would say, 2 years. We extended it, and you know, it's a lot of trial and error throughout those years of planting. What works and what doesn't work. You know, what can we grow by each other? The sun, of course, and the natural elements, and kind of bringing that back for Inuit people, for Apache people, bringing that back for families to self-sustain. That's very important because I think, you know, we suffer with diabetes, high blood pressure, you know, there's a lot of sicknesses, obesity in the youth, and, you know, personally, 2 of my loved ones within this past 2 years have gotten hit, you know, with type 2, and for me, that's been an eye-opener for me to start eating more better for myself and for them, you know, and not just for that though, the spread just keeps growing and growing, and it's for my community. So having fresh produce is very important for the youth and for the elders. Yeah, what we got growing this year is the traditional Apache red sugarcane, which a lot of the elders really love. And also with that, we have the Apache giant squash, which is really good as well in stew, goulash. We have the black bean zucchini, we have cantaloupe, we have watermelon, and we have blue corn, Navajo copper corn, and then blue and red corn, and beans, tomatoes, chili, and we also have butternut squash. And right now, we are planting pumpkins, and then also we have some raised beds that we're going to plant potatoes. Yeah, what I've learned working in the garden is patience, hard work, and for one seed that you plant, you know, it's really bountiful as it grows, and it gives so much more than itself. And I always tell myself, if the world would live like this, if each person would live as one seed as we are, but then give more that you can,
Okay, yeah, we can move forward on that, Trent. It kind of gives you an idea.
Right now we're okay. At the very beginning of planning, you know, the markets. I think right now we're going to have a farmer's market. Maybe might be the most right now set way to go. As far as market building, we do want to have like a little store here on site, for therefore we can sell our fresh produce. So we definitely want to have more of, I guess, our produce kind of like in a set area for people to come. So therefore we get known better.
Okay, again, that was Carrie Curley. She's a San Carlos Apache tribal member. She's our vice president. Just giving a little overview of our community garden efforts. But it's more than just community garden for our organization in San Carlos. Trent, you can move to the next slide.
Okay. Oops.
So our scope is broad. Our mission is about the revitalization, providing revitalization services to the people, children, and families through creative and life transforming projects. And we're at the Dripping Springs property in the Gilson Wash District of San Carlos. You can move forward. And here's an overview picture, a Google Earth picture of the property. It's about 90 acres. And so we're just at the beginning really of developing this property. Where the arrow is there is kind of the area where we're developing right now. It's about 5 or 6 acres that we're focusing on right now, but there's lots of room to grow. So one step at a time. Go ahead. Just some statistics in terms of the need and why we started this project or this nonprofit. Really high unemployment rate in terms of high school graduation. 4 out of 10 usually don't finish high school. Poverty rate is high. I was working at the San Carlos Juvenile Detention for a couple years teaching, and so I saw a lot of kids coming in for underage consumption, and there really wasn't much for them outside of jail to help them rehabilitate or to help them kind of go through a transformation process. So working in detention really opened up my eyes to a need to start to provide something for youth that is life-giving. And so when we identified this property, someone took me on a tour of this Dripping Springs property and kind of had a vision of what it could be and how it could help people in terms of rehabilitation. So go ahead to the next slide. So there's several things we're trying to meet the needs. Increase transformation, community revitalization opportunities in a safe place, educational opportunities in a positive environment, and education that is maybe a little bit different than your traditional type of education. Family-oriented projects where families can reconnect with each other. We have a nice arena to help them develop responsibility. So taking responsibility for the garden, taking responsibility for animals, teaching responsibility. And then also on this property, there's so much opportunity for new businesses and to teach about sustainability. And then of course, teaching about healthy eating and living. Next slide. So over the past 6 years, we've really focused on developing partnerships and collaborations. Because the scope is pretty large and broad, we need to work with a lot of different entities. And so you can kind of see the entities that we've developed partnerships with, relationships with over the years. And we're excited to continue to develop these collaborations. And even during this COVID time, we've been able to really connect with some other organizations and develop some strong collaborations. So we're excited for the future, and when things start to settle a little bit with the COVID, getting back to really working hard and having some great projects with these collaborations. Next slide. So there's 3 main viewpoints: the holistic, the rehabilitation, and the community. So holistic meaning looking at the whole person, body, soul, mind, and spirit. So whatever program we start, we want to make sure we look at the whole person and have programs that relate to not just physical, but also soulful, which would be like helping people with their relationships, with more of the mental or behavioral health kind of things. Also the spirit, helping people reconnect with their source of strength. And of course the mind with education. So we want to look at the whole person. When it comes to rehabilitation, really have some creative programs that bring life, that are inspirational for people and that help with the motivation to overcome whatever obstacle it is that they have. And then when it comes to community, we really want to help with showing people how they can be self-sustainable through agriculture and through business development. So we'll just kind of go through a little bit of the story of NDC and how things got going. This is at the Juvenile Detention Center. We started at Garden. That was one of the first things we started. And we're really appreciative of the long-term relationship with the U of A Cooperative Extension, the FERTEP program. Juan Arias, the only Juan, is one of our heroes and a guy that we work extensively with on gardening and garden education and agriculture. So we were able to start this. This was the first one we started, and the kids really were excited to get out of the jail and right there on the detention property start a garden. They worked hard, and we had a large produce. I mean, it was only like a 30-foot by 30-foot garden, but it produced a lot of good Apache giant squash, melons, you know, different types of squash, tomatoes, chilies, many different types of vegetables. So kids were really quite surprised at what they were able to do. And then the produce, we had the kids actually share with the community, go to the older adult center, go to the youth home, and some of those Apache women who were really excited about that Apache giant squash, to the point where they were almost throwing elbows to get to it when they saw it. And then once we were able to utilize the Dripping Springs property, we started our Garden 2.0 out there, and more space. We still didn't want to go too big, because we were learning ourselves and we didn't want to become too overwhelmed. So it's still less than a half an acre of garden space, but really it was big and sometimes overwhelming for us as we were trying to figure things out. Then surrounding that community garden, we started having community events where we had kids and families come out, help us cultivate, help us plant, and just get the garden ready to go. And then through, you know, the help of AA Tech, USDA, and our different U of A and collaborators, and tribal departments as well, we started to expand and do greenhouse and hoop house, and really work with the community to build these things together and educate the community about how to do these things and what it takes. So we've had many demonstrations and workshops for the community at this property. We also are using this property, since it's such a great location, to invite the community out for farmers market and artisan market, fashion shows, having various vendors come out, artists, having live music. We really believe that for any transformational type of movement to happen, it has to have inspiration that motivates people to take the next step in their life, to make the big decision, to, you know, learn a skill, to go back to school, to make a difference in their community. We have to provide inspiration. So we hopefully, once the COVID situation settles it down, we can have these gatherings again, and we can start to have more community festivals at this property. So another thing that's been really great is the kids camp, the summer kids camp. We've had this for about 5 years. Again, we weren't able to have it this summer, but every other summer for the past 5 years, we've been able to do the kids camp. And this is at a community center in a small district of San Carlos called Tulipai. And so we have a little community center that the Housing Authority has allowed us to use. And so we have anywhere from probably 25 to 35 kids that show up, and we do all sorts of different things, life skills, Apache language, cooking, you know, just different topics, gardening and art, music, all sorts of things for the kids. And that's been a really great program in the summertime when the kids don't have a lot to do in that area. Other classes that we have, and this property, this Dripping Springs property, it used to be a tree farm, so everybody in the community knows it as Tree Farm, but we call it the Life Center. We're starting to try to change the name, and I think it's starting to catch on with people in the community calling it the Life Center. But it, you know, historically it has been used for agriculture, trees, different types of crops and things like that. So let me know if you ever want to know a little bit about the history of this particular property. It's pretty interesting. But we have we did have a teen AA class at the property, and there's some pictures of some of the kids that participated. Life skills classes. We had, for a few years there, we had a community mud run. So we built like an obstacle course on the property, where teams could go through the obstacle course together, and there were prizes, and there was we did this in collaboration with the diabetes prevention program in San Carlos. Educational garden, Juan, the only Juan has started an archery, a 4-H on the property. We also have chickens and egg production, and of course business development on the property. So we just built this chicken coop. None of us are have any kind of skills in construction, but somehow we were able to construct a chicken coop. And we already had some chickens, but we added 40 more chickens recently. And we're raising them. They should be laying in the next couple months. The chickens we already have are producing about 2 dozen eggs a day. So not a big amount, but we're just, you know, learning the process of egg production, you know, how to properly clean the eggs, take care of the chickens, and then even provide the eggs for the community. Along the way, we have kids, school groups come out. Again, this was before the COVID, and you know, kids are able to interact with the chickens, even round up the eggs. We show them how to properly wash the eggs and just teach them all about, you know, where does your chicken come from when you eat? Where do eggs, how do the eggs, how are they produced? All those kinds of things. And then we have been able to provide fresh eggs for local businesses. There's a couple ladies there at the San Carlos Cafe, excited about the eggs we provided. Also in Globe, there's a few businesses that we were able to provide fresh eggs for. So then, as you know, the COVID-19 hit, we had to adjust some things and come up with some creative things. And so it was actually my wife, I'll give her full credit. She had the idea to do a care package, food pantry type of thing. So we took one of the rooms in our multi-purpose building and we started to accept donations. And we put together care packages for families in need in San Carlos. And then we've had a team to deliver these pretty much every Friday since I would say April. So we've been able to deliver literally hundreds of care packages to families in Bryce and in San Carlos. which has been a blessing for a lot of families. And it's been great for us to get to know a lot of families in the community through this effort. And we've been working hand in hand with the Tribal Emergency Response Commission in San Carlos, the Turk. So they've helped us identify who these families are that really need the extra help during this time. Next slide. Some more pictures of our care package deliveries. And another thing, you see the two kids there in the middle holding the bags. Those are kids' summer fun bags. So that, you know, in San Carlos, they've been pretty strict about going anywhere. They've really limited the community's ability to just go outside at all. So we wanted to provide the kids something to do while they're, you know, being locked down or in quarantine or whatever you want to call it. So, you know, kids are really excited to get these fun bags. We're excited also, we had our first interns this summer. So this is Danny. She comes, she's going to school in Pennsylvania, but was home in San Carlos for the summer. So she actually reached out to us and asked, could I come volunteer for you guys? And she sent us her resume. We were pretty excited to have that kind of initiative. So we created a internship for her, you know, just like 8 hours a week of working with us. And she actually, we gave her a project to do, or we asked her to come up with a project, and she came up with composting. So this is her leading the way, building a composting area on our property. So through this, we want to help them in their leadership skills, communication skills, teamwork, and critical thinking. I'll tell you also, we had another intern, and so through my work with another company, my full-time job, I was able to travel to Indonesia, to Papua, which is a remote area in Indonesia. So I was able to get to know some indigenous people in Papua, and specifically, there's a kid, a Papuan guy that's here going to Oregon State University in the US. And I've been getting to know him, and I invited him to come to work with us at NDC for part of the summer. And so he came down to work with us. So we had a kid from a Lani tribe in Wamena, Papua, here in San Carlos, working with a San Carlos Apache. So it was just a really unique, you know, dynamic of two different tribes coming together, and it was just great to observe their interactions with each other. So he was another one of our interns. Other NDC programs, activities, go back to that slide, Trent, please. The last slide.
This one.
There we go. Other things we've had at the property and in the community, we started a skate school, which was taking off like crazy before the COVID hit. We had a film academy, so somebody was filming a movie on the res, and they held a film academy for the community at our location. We built a commercial kitchen. We installed a solar powered well pump on the property. We've worked with the school district to provide some alternative classes for junior high. And yeah, so it's not just about agriculture with our organization, but it's about reaching out to the community in many different ways. Okay, next slide. Through the USDA grants and through in partnership with AA Tech and U of A and SWIAA and all these great organizations, we've been able to develop a conceptual plan for part of the property. And so this is kind of an overview of that. You can see the yellow is the farmers market events area. That's kind of like the first stage of development. And then you see the green is expansion of the gardening, agriculture, creating the food hub, where we can have a center for, you know, washing, packaging, distributing, having dry and cold storage. And then the next area, the next phase is the animal husbandry area there in orange. And then down the line, we're looking at having a little cabin area so we can house people, whether it's groups that want to come in for like a camp experience, or whether it's youth who are in need of a place, homeless, or whether it's people who want a place for sober living. You know, we just want to have some housing on the property and an organized place for people to rehabilitate. Also a central recreational building, mess hall kind of thing. And then we also want to have a business development center with incubation studios for people. We can help them start their own businesses. So it's a big scope. It is going to require a lot of work and a lot of partnership and a lot of funding, but you know, we're almost finished with the environmental assessment and official land lease. We're working closely with the tribe to solidify this for many years to come. So it's all about sustainability, you know. Having produce will help us with sustainability. It's a big need to have fresh fruits and vegetables in the area. San Carlos, you know, most of this area is considered a food desert, and really the only produce for sale is at Bash's, and that's one grocery store for just about 15,000 tribal members, and there's not a very big produce section at that store. Currently, the tribe is not farming fruits and vegetables. So we want to, you know, demonstrate it and encourage people to start their own gardens and kind of be a model for this area. So we can produce a lot in terms of business on this property. You can see fruit, vegetable, egg production, farmers markets, animal husbandry. We want to have a fishing pond, and we want to have water purification, maybe provide good drinking water on site as well. So that's a little bit about our organization and what we're up to and what we're trying to do in terms of business and agriculture and developing this overall, it's a food hub is what we're trying to develop there. And just bring life into the community, revitalization in a way that is holistic, body, soul, mind, and spirit. So that's it. There's our email address. My email address, Carrie is our vice president. Eric is our project manager. And we have a really good website that we've recently upgraded or updated. And we're also on Facebook and Instagram. So please follow us. And we're always posting things up on Facebook and Instagram. Thank you very much, everybody.
All right, thank you, Bryce. Is there any questions for Bryce at this time? Okay, we can always have time later. I think Bryce has to jump off a little early, so if you have a question, it'd be good to ask him as why he's still present, but we can always get the questions to him afterwards. Go ahead, Mark.
Yeah, thanks, Bryce, for all the work you're doing. It looks great. I was wondering, you know, since it's called Dripping Springs, it sounds like there's a lot of water there. And is it good water? And are you able to access as much water as you want? Because a big part of concern in Navajo is just having enough water. How are you on that?
It's always a struggle in the desert to have enough water. Currently, we have enough water. We have and thanks for the question. That's a good question. We have a residential well that we started with on the property. We had to work with the BIA to rehabilitate that well and get that up and running. It's about 30 It produces about 30 gallons per minute. So it's not a huge amount, but it's enough to support the multi-purpose facility we have and the small residential. And it also provides enough for drip irrigation on our community garden. That community garden is only about a half an acre. And then we have another well on the property. It's an agricultural well. It's what they used for the old tree farm back in the day. And so we had to have that, you know, the water wasn't that great in that well. So we had to drill deeper. There is an aquifer underneath this property, but we had to drill a little bit deeper. I think we're at about 160 feet right now, where we have about, I think it's 60 feet of water. So the water is at about 120 feet or 100 feet, and it goes down to 160 feet. And so it seems to be replenishing itself when we use that well. I think that for that well, we'll have about 100, up to 100 gallons per minute, which can service about 10 acres. But we're not even close to doing 10 acres. We're just gonna maybe start another acre here coming up. So we'll have a total of like an acre and a half of usage. And so, yeah, we were able to set up a off-the-grid solar power system for that agriculture well. And we have a pump down in it that even though there's about 100 GPM, where the pump is bringing up about 30 GPM because we really don't need that. So yeah, to answer your question, we do have water. If we expand beyond 10 acres, we got to figure something else out because there won't be enough water beyond 10 acres.
Thanks.
Hey, Bryce.
Trent, go ahead, Russ. I have a question. I can't wait. Go ahead.
Oh, no, I was just going to follow up on Mark's great presentation and great to see all that stuff going on there. The one thing I was wondering, though, related is how much water is it going to take to make the fishing pond? You know, I like the idea, but I mean, how much water? I mean, because when you're talking water scarcity, I mean, like
yeah,
the picture in my background, I mean, that shows how much green you need to get a fishing pond, you know?
Yeah. You know, that's a good question. And I don't know exactly what you do, but maybe you can help us with that.
Yeah, I don't know.
So with Engineers Without Borders in the U of A chapter, we've partnered with those students for different projects. And that's the next one. They're going to do some research for us and look at if it's possible. So it's one of the, I guess, dreams at this point, but I don't know if it's a reality to do the fishing pond. Yeah, we got to look at if we have enough water. The reasoning behind doing a small fishing pond is so we can teach people how to fish. You know the old saying, give a man a fish or teach a man to fish. So like a little place on site where we can teach youth how to fish, but also incorporate maybe some aquaponics with that little pond. But like, yeah, that's a good question. I don't even know if it's possible at this point, but we're going to research it and see what it all takes and how big it needs to be in the depth and see if it's feasible.
Okay.
You want to help, Russ?
If I could make it rain, I would, yeah.
That always helps. I know that. So I guess my question is, yes, I mean, it's a very exciting program, and I've been telling the group that, you know, how wonderful the leadership is at the local level and how energetic and dynamic the programs are. So my question is, Bryce, what you guys been doing for leadership building and the capacity building? Because have a big dream like that, you will need a lot of help, and not only that, a strong leadership is a necessity. So would you mind share some of your ideas and some of the things that you've been doing to build the leadership and why it's so successful up to this point?
Yeah, for sure. So I'm really fortunate to have an amazing team, an amazing board that is very active. So, you know, we've been working in San Carlos. Several of us here in the Globe community, we're all friends, and we all found work in San Carlos. Most of us live here in Globe, and San Carlos is right next door. And we heard about needs early on in San Carlos through education and healthcare mostly. So we all were able to get jobs out in San Carlos and just kind of serving the community through our work. And we all stayed connected. And when we had this vision to start a nonprofit, it was like a bunch of friends coming together who just have a heart and a passion to serve the community. And so, you know, we just started doing things. We were already out there working, and we just started doing other things together and helping each other just grow through that. And so these tight, strong relationships, I think it's so important to have that as you're, you know, serving the community. You have to be on the same page and have this nonprofit kind of mentality, this heart, this kind of like unconditional love for your community, not expecting much in return. And so what we're good at, our leadership team, what we're pretty good at is building relationships. So with each other, but also with the community, and really just encouraging and supporting the community however we can. And so we didn't start out, like, we're still learning what it means to be a board of directors, because even after 6 years, it's like we've just been friends doing this together. So now we're like, okay, we're growing. We have these relationships. We've received support from, you know, yourself, from the U of A, from different granting organizations, like the local United Way recently has come up to support us, and they love our vision. Now that we have all this, we were able, you know, to hire Eric, one of our board members. He became the project manager, and first full-time person, which is huge. And now we have to figure out what it means to be a board of directors, even though we've been existing for 6 years. So yeah, to build more leadership, we're during this time, it's a little bit hard because of, you know, just being remote like this, but we found some different ways to learn more about being a board, what the expectations are, and how, you know, adding more board members, some different training websites in terms of nonprofit leadership. We've been utilizing those. And but the bottom line is continue to share the vision and to build relationships with people, build friendships with people, and things happen from there.
Thank you. Very good.
All right.